Hindenburg was born on October 2nd, 1847 in the Grand Duchy of Posen, shown in red. Before World War I, Hindenburg fought in the Franco-Prussian War. In January of 1905, Helmuth von Moltke, this dude, succeeded him. Following after that, in 1911, Hindenburg announced his retirement from the military. During the outbreak of World War I in 1914, Hindenburg was recalled to military service and achieved fame on the eastern side of the war in the Battle of Tannenberg. After defeating the Russians in this battle, Hindenburg was a national hero. Hindenburg was also part of the final great German push in France in the spring of 1918, which ran from March to July. It had almost succeeded, but an Allied counteroffensive with the help of U.S. troops broke through and caused the Germans to surrender in November of 1918. After the war, he retired again in June of 1919. After Hindenburg's retirement from the military in 1919, he became president of Germany in 1925. He passed away on August 2nd, 1934. After that, some dude with the silly mustache became leader of Germany for the next couple years. Vorbeck was a German general during the First World War. He was also known as the Lion of Africa as he was commander of the German East African Campaign. Vorbeck is known to have lived by a warrior's code of chivalry, which is honor and respect for one's enemies, and was famous for the human treatment of his men as well as civilians, during a time when black soldiers were being discriminated against by the U.S. enemy. Vorbeck treated his African soldiers no different to the white Germans under his command. He was fluent in Swahili and earned much of his respect from his African soldiers. Douglas Haig was a British commander on the Western Front. During December of 1915, he became the commander-in-chief of the British Army on the Western Front. Haig had little time for new ideas and strategies. He started the Somme offense on July 1st, 1916, with the aim of breaking the stalemate on the Western Front and reducing the pressure on the French troops if it were done. Approximately 600,000 lives were lost in the offense, which included 400,000 troops from the British Commonwealth side. This number of casualties made him a controversial figure. After the end of the offense, British had gained some 10 miles of land. In July 1917, a new offensive known as the Third Battle of Ypres began, which brought further casualties but managed to weaken the German army and paved the way for their defeat in 1918. During the spring of 1918, when the German attacks almost spread the British and French armies, Haig strongly supported a single command of Allied side led by Ferdinand Foch, which eventually brought the war to an end, which is number 2 on this list. The son of a civil servant, Ferdinand Foch was determined to become a soldier and served as a key military commander during the First World War for the French. Foch was named the commander of the Essex Corps at the start of the war. Foch was in charge of the French Ninth Army after the early success in Nancy and forged a victory at the First Battle of Mons. By blocking the German advances, the marshes of state gone. He was pronounced and was given the command of the Northern Army on the West Front in October of 1914. After the Somme offensive, which resulted in high casualties on the Allied side, he sacrificed as a French space scout and was banished for a while. In 1918, when the French and British armies were in danger of splitting, Foch was called back and took command of the Allied force in March of the same year, and managed to withstand the Lugoff offenses. His victory at the Second Battle of Mons helped put an end to the bloody fighting. In November of 1918, he personally dedicated the armistice terms to a German delegation at railway carriage. After the war, Foch was also made a British Field Marshal and Marshal of Poland. John Pershing is well remembered for commanding the AEF in Europe on the Western Front during the First World War. He served as president in the first cabinet of the West Point class of 1886. He also served in the Spanish and Philippine-American Wars. At the beginning of the war, Pershing rejected the British and French demands that the American forces should be integrated with their armies and demanded that the AEF should operate as a single unit under him. During October of 1918, in the Meuse-Ardennes offense, the AEF helped destroy the German resistance. Later, his willingness to integrate in the Allied operations helped end the war. On the outside, he was the only commander who was against the armistice and insisted that Germany be continually pressured until they surrendered unconditionally. After his death in 1948, he was buried in honors at the Arlington National Cemetery.